Well, hello everyone. So, good evening. This is Subhajit Devnath, and I'm currently a content head uh, of this Dystopian and from itself. So, basically, this webinar is about being your own boss. Okay. Uh, who am I? Who you are speaking with is I'm Subhajit Devnath. I currently pursue aircraft maintenance engineering. Okay. And being a struggling student who just opposed his parents just to pursue his dreams has been a tremendous hard work for me. And currently, I am a personal brand. I'm currently working on my personal branding. You can find me on my Instagram as Paradox Aviator. So, yeah. So currently I have right now with us right now we have Prateek, who is a marketing analyst of Applix.in and a Microsoft student partner, and he's the one who doesn't want to take any conventional job,
Hi.
and yeah, if like he's so much dedicated to this thing that he wants to be a Uber driver rather than having that conventional job of 9 to 5, right? So yeah, here we have Pratik, and
Hi.
the second one we have is hi. Second one we have is Ishika Ganguly, a second year engineering student, and who has been a quite supportive member by attending like few of the webinars in the previous sessions. And even I have not personally met with her, so hi. Hi Ishika.
Hello.
Hi, Ishika.
Hi. So last but not the least, apart from Pratik and Ishika, we have Aditya, who is a budding writer. Yeah, I absolutely like his writings and all. A cinematographer who like you will love when he gives his introduction. Okay, so here we have Aditya Modak. So Aditya, do you have
Hello.
anything to say regarding yourself, like how you have come through to all this path by fighting all the scenarios? Please go ahead, Aditya. The stage is all yours.
Thank you for having me. First of all, everyone, thank you for having me, Prateek and Apelix. Thank you for inviting me in this show. Now, I want to begin by saying that this journey which I've taken, this path which I've chosen, it has not been an easy one because, of course, it's not conventional, be it as a filmmaker or as a writer. Since I've not gone for the conventional way of making films or of writing, like choosing a technique which everyone can relate with, it has been a difficult journey for me because it's difficult to get people into your work when if they don't find it the way they want it to find. So you have to make sure that you can do something which will make them want to check out your work, because like I'm an unknown person, so why would anybody want to watch my film, or why would anybody want to pick up my book to read it? So marketing is something which is very important over here, and although that's the part where most of the people face the problem, which is in marketing. And Pratik, I think you know a lot of things about marketing about this
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
This is
absolutely.
very important thing about anything. Like even if you are like a very popular person, you have got a huge following on social media, even then you need a good marketing technique so that you can get your work out there. So for me, I had to depend on my friends, who I'm very proud and I'm very lucky that my friends have been very supportive of whatever I have done, and they have supported me. And so that's how I've begun my journey.
That's absolutely great. Like I appreciate what you have done so far. So let's start when you have like when you were a small kid. What were your interests and hobbies, and what were your childhood dreams? Can you please say about like about all those?
Yeah, I remember that the first book that I actually had fallen in love with was Sherlock Holmes. And since reading that, I wanted to be a detective when I grew up. I've always wanted to be a detective. Like, you know how it is with kids. Always my dreams kept changing from one dream to another. I just wanted to be a lot of things. There was even a time when I wanted to become a wrestler. There was even a time like this. So whatever I saw, whatever would interest me, I would just want to follow that. So it was that growing up, you see something and then you suddenly realize that, yeah, this is something that I want to do. So this happened with me back in class 12, right after my exams. So I was watching this film. It's called Lost Highway by David Lynch. So after watching this film, I don't know, it's kind of, you might say, I don't know if it's something of a divine intervention or anything like that, but after watching this film, something clicked inside my head. Like after the film stopped and the credits started rolling in, I felt like, yeah, this is something that I would like to do. This is something that I have to do someday. And I knew after watching that film, I knew that I wanted to be a film director. I had to make films. And this is something which is very difficult. Once you get into film school, it becomes comparatively easier if you can make the contacts, the proper contacts. But otherwise, it's a difficult job, to actually go out there and make a film. But after watching Lost Highway, I knew that I had to get into this field. But when I was a child, there were a lot of things I dreamt of. So ridiculous ideas which I had in mind. And a lot of people were like, no, these things, you can never do this, you can never do that. So all my life, I've always heard people telling me that you can't do this, you can't do that. But after reaching a particular age, you realize that what they say, what people say, that doesn't matter. As long as you know that you want to do something or passionate about it, you can do that. For example, now, if I had stuck to my dream of becoming a detective like Sherlock Holmes, I don't know if I would have been successful in that. But what if I actually, pursued that? Maybe I could have done that as well. So that's what I believe in, that if you are really passionate about something and if you really follow it, you don't listen, you don't care about what other people have to say, you can do it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
that
great. Like even yeah, yeah. So personally speaking, I even like Sherlock Holmes, and the one thing I loved about that character was he like he created his own job role. There was no job role in the entire world of that, right? And
Yeah.
like seeing you, I can literally see that a hidden Sherlock Holmes, but in a different aspect about
Yeah.
all those videos and the shoots that you made. Those are superb. Yeah, Prateek, you were saying something. Please go ahead.
yeah. So Aditya, we know that you have worked on a few films. So what made you get into filmmaking? Means what initiated? What was the first push that gave you launched into filmmaking?
See, I have always loved watching films, but there was one particular film which got my attention, and that was Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock. So when I watched that film, before that I did not know that a film could have so many things, like a good cinematography, good sound designing, and everything, like use of colors and everything. So this film, after seeing this film, I really wanted to watch more films. So I found out about Alfred Hitchcock's entire filmography, and I found out the works of other filmmakers like Stanley Kubrick and uh, Andrei Tarkovsky and Ingmar Bergman. I found out their works and I saw that the films which I had been watching before them, of course, they were good films, but I did not know that you could transgress the boundaries of filmmaking and you can do something more than that. And after watching this, because I've always wanted, like, honestly, I've always felt like I don't belong to a particular place when I'm compressed or when I'm suppressed. I don't feel like that kind of, I don't like that kind of an environment. So when I watch those kinds of films, I felt like, yeah, if they have done this, they have paved the path for up and coming filmmakers to try newer things for making different kinds of films. Maybe I should do that. So this was my entry or my gateway into the world of films. That was Vertigo by Alfred Hitchcock. And like I've said, Lost Highway was the film which actually sparked something inside me, which made me go into filmmaking.
Okay, so you mentioned about Lost Highway and Vertigo. So, what, in your opinion, would be your favorite film or the film you like the most, or you like the scripting and everything? In your opinion, which is the best package?
Of any film, or okay, I can name a few on the top of my head. I can
Yeah, yeah,
choose just
sure,
one.
sure.
Like I talked about Vertigo. So if anybody asks me what's your favorite film, I always say it's Vertigo. But there are a couple of films which I really like and which have had a huge impact on me, not just as a filmmaker but as a writer as well. For example, Blade Runner by Ridley Scott.
Yeah,
This
the old
film,
one, right?
yeah, the original one. This one, when I watched it, I felt like it was gonna be one of those, blockbuster films because I was aware of Ridley Scott's other films like Alien and all those films. So I thought it would be something of that sort. But when I watched it, I was like mind blown. I watched the director's cut firstly, and I was really surprised that this film did not fit when it was initially released. And this is one of the films which had a huge impact on me. And this entire dystopia, this theme of a dystopian society where mankind is crumbling, the main thing of Blade Runner is that the Blade Runner was technically a human being. He was fighting the replicants or the robots, but who was more human? In the end, we are left hung with that question: that who was more human, the replicants or the Blade Runner or the humans? So this kind of a dystopia has really stuck with me, and I really like dystopias everywhere. Like, for example, 1984 by George Orwell, that
Yeah,
novel.
yeah,
It has
that
also
one.
yeah, it has also played a huge role in my philosophy, what I believe in the world, that we are all going into a dystopia. Actually, we are living in a dystopia, but I think
Yes.
that this is this is not yet the worst. This is not the worst yet. The worst is yet to come. Like, we are going down there. So,
Exactly.
and even the second part, Blade Runner 2049 by Denis Villeneuve, I also love that film. Most of the times, when they make sequels of such huge films, you think that, oh, they cannot really keep up to that level. But after I watched Blade Runner 2049, I thought that, yeah, that was just perfect. So even that film, Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, both of them, these films are on my top of my list. And David Lynch's entire filmography, like I always say this, that if I had not discovered the works of David Lynch, I don't think I could have, ever even imagined of becoming a director. Because, this style of filmmaking, surrealism, which he implements in his films, and also he has this habit of turning a mundane and urban, very casual urban world into something really
Okay.
dark and scary. So this is something that I found very attractive in David Lynch's films. So all
Okay,
his
speaking of one thing you just mentioned regarding that, often when a film is very good, the sequel makers have to think a lot before working
yeah,
on that. Have you watched
mm,
that one, Tron and Tron Uprising?
yeah,
I
mm,
think so. In my opinion, I guess Tron was far better than Tron Uprising, because in the sequel
yeah,
making of Tron Uprising, it was not that good. Tron was a good.
yeah,
It followed the same theme. You mentioned dystopia.
mhm,
Tron followed the original film followed the exact theme of dystopia, but I think so. In the case of Tron Uprising, it was not the case. So that's the point that I guess filmmakers should work on making their works consistent, and whatever they do, no, I think so. It should be at par with the quality. I mean, the quality should not degrade with each film, right?
yeah. A lot of times, what happens is the studio gets in between. Like the director, he
Yeah,
has a
that's the
particular
point.
vision of a film, but the studio doesn't really like that. For example, when Dune, the Dune movie, which is coming up, this is not the first Dune film. The first Dune film was released in 1984 or 86, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah,
84. It was directed by David Lynch, and that film was a total disaster because David Lynch himself disowned that film because he did not really get the final say in that film. The studio had interfered, and so that film, because Dune was like a huge deal back then, even it was extremely popular, and everybody had really high hopes, and it all came crumbling down. And it's the same with many great directors have done this. For example, I talked about Alien by Ridley Scott. So Alien 3 was directed by David, what's his name? David Fincher. It was directed by David Fincher, he's a magnificent, a brilliant filmmaker. But a lot of people did not really like Aliens 3. I don't know why. I kind of liked it, but then again, at the end of the day, it's subjective. But sometimes the film is so bad, that it's just nobody can, sit through the entire film. And
yeah.
I've seen a
That
lot of people complaining about the Indian film industry, how it's degrading or it's bad. But I don't really, I'm not really sure if I could agree with them, because there are actually a lot of good films in the Indian film industry, and
yeah,
they just
definitely.
don't get that kind of an exposure. They remain well below. So this is something that I think everyone should do, is even you can go back and you can watch the old films and you can see that how rich our entire this film industry has been. It's always revolving around the popular ones, and so we feel like that we are not getting to the level of Hollywood or anything like that.
I understand. So,
Right.
Yeah,
okay,
Okay.
okay, sure, go ahead, Ishika.
yeah,
Okay,
Ishika.
Ishika, go
so
ahead.
I have one question for Aditya. That is, you spoke about this comparison of, Indian film industry with, Hollywood and all. You think this is very relevant, right, in India? And there's this
Mm.
constant competition going on to, prove and, what do you think exactly should be the right approach to every film director towards this competition or this constant, comparison that they're facing?
One thing which I believe and which I've also seen is that there is some kind of competition which exists between directors always. Like, I'm talking about, people like me, like who have just begun, who have just entered into the business, there's a lot of competition between this. But I believe that there should never be any kind of competition between artists. Like, you are creating your own art, somebody's creating their own version of the art. So I don't think there is any need of competing. But when we are talking about in general, like you're comparing the industries. So as you saw what happened last year, Parasite won the best picture, and a lot of Americans were extremely unhappy that a non-English film was even nominated for best picture. So this is what I think, that the Oscars, which the Academy, which is basically in the US, they have changed the narrative in such a way that these awards will only be eligible for the American films. While if you look in the other towards the other countries, there are the South Korean film industry is extremely good. The South Korean film industry is great. So is the French. And if you look at any other country, you will find that there are hidden gems who don't get that kind of an exposure. But when we come to the comparison between Indian films and Hollywood films, I would like to point one thing out, that the actors who are very popular in their country, we can say that their acting is objectively good. The filmmaking process is subjective, the film is subjective, but the acting or whatever else you put into the film, that can be objective. So there is this ritual thing that goes on in the Indian film industry, is a particular actor, he plays only one kind of role. Like, this guy will always be the hero. So there is no chance of, you know, expanding his horizons to see what he can do, what he cannot do. While in the West, we can see that the actors always keep pushing themselves. They try out different roles. So the thing is, when you are casting a very popular actor or actress in your film, you know that their fans are going to watch the film. So since you're doing that, you should try to allow those actors to try out different kinds of roles. Let them go and let them try out something new, so that you can, get out of that mentality that, no, this actor, for example, I'm just telling a name like Salman Khan. We know what kind of films that he usually does. Everybody knows what kind of films he usually does. So what if he did something else? But that's not going to happen, because in India, the industry works differently, while outside it's different.
Right, I totally agree with you when you said, that there are certain actors who play certain, the same kind of roles over and over again, and there's not much exposure, especially in the Indian film industry. For example, we can't really, expect Salman Khan playing a role which Amir Khan does, right? So that
Yeah,
is totally
exactly.
something even we cannot imagine. And
Mhm.
another that I totally agree is that you mentioned that, a director that is, a film director, that is basically his complete vision that, he puts into the film. Right. So you were talking about a lot of directors and a lot of cinemas. What I want to ask you is, what is your favorite kind of cinema genre, or which is one genre that has been something that you have been watching all throughout, your childhood years and teenage, and
Okay,
even now.
psychological horror and thriller films. I've been a huge fan of psychological horror films. Like, I've watched almost every popular films, and I keep searching, I keep hunting the net to find out the names of, obscure, haunting films that I like. I don't like those kinds of films, which like uses jump scares and stuff like that. So suddenly there's a loud music, or suddenly something appears on your screen and you are scared. I believe in the kind of fear which was made popular by Lovecraft. He said that H.P. Lovecraft. He said that the kind of fear which is the most dangerous fear, or the most effective fear, is a lingering fear. So you don't really know what the fear is about, but you know there is something wrong. So this dread of something being wrong, it just stays with you throughout the film. So you're sitting there and you're watching the film. You don't know what's going to happen next. You are always in dread, always in a fear. For example, I was talking about Alien 3, which was directed by David Fincher. He also directed Seven, which was a great film from beginning to end. So these are the kinds of films I like: psychological horror and psychological thriller films, which you make your mind race. And Denis Villeneuve's film Prisoners, that's one more film, and Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder. That film was excellent. I would recommend anybody who likes detective fiction or detective films, they should definitely check these films out. So these are the kinds of films that I like. And one film which I put on top of every other film in the psychological horror genre, it's The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. I
Oh,
watched the film Yeah, I watched the film first and then I read the book, and I saw that Stephen King, the author of the book, he was not really
Yes.
very happy with the film when it had come out. Like he was so upset that what did Kubrick make out of my book? This is not what I wanted to my book to turn out to be. But I felt like the the book was good. It was awesome. Okay, I get it. But the film was different. It followed the narrative, but it was different. Like, when you finish watching the film, it's so disturbing that you cannot get the sounds, the images, the story out of your head. The book was okay. The film was okay as well. So this is the thing that I want to talk about, that when adaptations are made, everybody always thinks that there has to be a comparison. For example, we see that a lot in the Harry Potter franchise. A lot of people get into fights online that the books are better or no, the films are better. I think they serve different purposes. They cater to different kinds of audiences. Those who want to read the book, go for the book. If you want to watch the film, then go for the film. You can enjoy both.
Yeah, that's
Right.
correct. That's
Stephen
correct.
King has been, one of my favorite writers when it comes to the horror genre. But then there are this thing he spoke about, the adaptation. That is a real thing. There's always this comparison, and you will never get the same feeling when you read a book and when you're watching the cinema, because here you're not just visualizing, but it is feeding to all of your senses. Right, you're
Yeah.
hearing it, seeing it, and then about this constant, this fear of this unknown. It even stays
Mm.
after the movie is over, which is why
Yeah.
in my opinion, they're actually best kind of movies that I enjoy watching.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the thing is, the book that I have written, Arachnid, I have made sure that when a person reads it, there's so much. I've used a lot of imagery in this book so that it's like a film. It's like a film script. When you read it, you can visualize whatever happening. But I'm not spoon feeding everything to you. So when you read it, there's room for interpretations. There's room for creating your own visuals. But then again, I have made sure that I have described everything to such an extent that you can see what I'm trying to say through the story. Now, when it comes to adaptations, yeah, you're right that there's always this comparison that when you're reading the book, you get more, there's an involvement of more feelings than the films. But that's always not the case, which I've found out, because when you are reading a book, yeah, it's true that more of your imaginative senses, or your senses in general, they are into work, they're into motion when you're reading a book. But it's the same when you watch a film. Your brain is still functioning, right? The thing is, uh, it's nothing like I read a book first so I can't watch the film, or I watched a film first so I can't read the book. You can do both of them anytime. It doesn't have to be like you have to read the book first and only then you can watch the film. You can watch the film first and then read the book, for all it matters. It all depends upon how the director wants to show that story in that film. And this is something a lot of people don't understand. When you read a book, just taking Harry Potter for example. When you read the book, any of those 7 books, you have a particular image of Harry Potter in our mind. For us, when we started, I guess I can speak this for almost everyone our age, that when we went into the Harry Potter books, we knew that, okay, this is what Harry Potter looks like. He looks like Daniel Radcliffe. This is how this character looks like. Because we watched the films and we knew that, okay, this is how these characters look. So our head is going like that into the book. But what about the ones who had not watched the film and who had read the books first? How did they how did they imagine how what Harry Potter looked like, or what Hogwarts looked like? And then when they watched the film, they were like mesmerized. And I'm sure that a lot of people, I've seen that in the internet, a lot of people complain how the book was better than the film. But I feel like it's totally up to the director. Like all kinds of literature are all kind of literature is like the person who's reading it, he can interpret it, he can visualize it in any way he wants. And now if he wants to portray that in a film, he can do that. For example, one of the scenes which gets really bashed all the time from the Harry Potter series is from Goblet of Fire, where in the book it's written when Dumbledore finds out that it was Harry who put his name in the goblet, he asks him very kindly that if it was he who put the name in the goblet. But in the film, like Dumbledore is like totally out of his mind. He's screaming on Harry Potter's face. So this is one thing that a lot of people complain about, that why did they change this thing? because it changes the entire character of Dumbledore in a way, because he's supposed to be a calm and cool guy, and suddenly he's just out of his mind. He's very angry, he's upset. But if the director sees it in such a way, then there's nothing to complain. You have to just enjoy the art. The purpose of art is not just entertainment. It's for not just for enjoyment. It's for knowing what the filmmaker is trying to say. By watching the film, you can understand that this is what goes on inside the mind of a person, not just the characters in the film, but the people behind the film. How do they think? What did they think when they were making the film? And how could you have done it differently? That's when the film analysis thing comes
Also
into
an
play.
intellectual stimulation to the person who's watching it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you start analyzing the films, because it's a comparison. Like, how would I have created this same scene with these characters? How would I have done it, and how has that man done it? So this is how you become creative. This is the starting point of becoming creative. Some people go along with it, some don't. If you go along, you'll find that there are a lot of things that you can do with it.
So you talked
Okay.
about how the Hollywood and the Bollywood, like you did a comparison between all those. But can you please tell us that how the mindset of a director and the actors of the Hollywood and that matches with us in the Bollywood? Can you please give us a short note about that?
Ego. Only one word, that's ego, which the Indian actors and directors have a huge amount of ego, which the Western, they usually don't have. They have, I'm not going to say they don't have it. They have it to some extent, but not as much as the Bollywood actors or directors, who put them in some kind of a pedestal themselves. They put themselves in some kind of a pedestal, like we are great, there's nobody above us. But I've seen most of the directors, most of them, the popular ones at least, like Martin Scorsese or the popular ones, they're very humble people. I've seen them, the way they speak with other people, they're humble people. It's not like they're foolish, but they're humble. There's a difference. Some people think that, okay, now I'm popular, so I have to act in a certain way. I have to do certain things so that I could, keep up with the status of mine. But I don't think that is a thing, because this is exactly what I had said a while back, that when you are an artist, these things don't matter, competition and, keeping an clear image where you have to act in a certain way or you have to do certain things. That doesn't work when you're an artist. People, these in the acting industry in India, I don't think they consider themselves as artists. They see themselves more as people in the
Show
entertainment.
business. Yeah, show
Yeah,
business.
yeah, show business in the entertainment industry. Their main goal is to provide
Into
entertainment
TRP. TRP.
audience. Yeah, that, exactly that. And the audience, what the audience wants. And to be honest, the majority of the Indian audience, of course, how are these films, these blockbuster films in India, how are they making so much money? Because people are watching them. So we cannot just say that the industry is at fault, because in the end of the day, it's always these corporations, they
Market.
are doing
What the
things
market.
for
See,
money.
supply demand, in the end, it's a basic question of economics, because there is the demand, then there is a supply. I guess that answers the question,
Exactly.
because there is a demand for such content, and obviously people who are willing to make money in the market, they will be creating such content.
Exactly. And when I made my first film, which was Gloom, when I spoke with some people who are into filmmaking, who are outside, who don't live in India, like who are foreigners, when I spoke with them, the first thing they asked me is, are you going to be successful that you have chosen this genre of filmmaking in India? I don't think you're going to be successful. I mean, they did not say this to let me down, but this is actually a true thing, because a lot of people, after watching my first film, were like, this is not a film. They said that, how can you call this a film? It just shows some pictures flashing. How can this be a film? So there are different ways of showing something to people. Like the art movements, impressionistic art, expressionistic art. There are different kinds of art movements. I'm pretty sure when somebody saw Picasso's paintings for the first time, they were like, "What the hell is this?" But then he became popular. It takes some time, but how does this happen? When more people get into this, when more people start talking about this, this is when it happens. In India as well, surreal films have been there, but it's just that those films don't get that kind of an attention. I don't know if you have watched the film No Smoking by Anurag Kashyap. That was his first film, which was released in India, and this is a surreal film. I had no idea when I watched that film. The star of this film was John Abraham. So I had no clue that what I was gonna watch. When I watched No Smoking, I was mind blown. I always thought that Anurag Kashyap only made films like gangster films or thrillers like that, but I had no idea that he made a surreal film, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I got to know that this film was not really a successful one in India. That's how it is.
Right, that is something that we which is very relevant in India. That is, you have not everyone has the same taste in movies. Like there are
Mm.
there are some public which enjoy the commercial cinemas, while there are some people who enjoy this unconventional cinema that you just spoke about. So it actually totally depends on that. But then you spoke about the first film that you made, and it received some kind of criticism. So how did you deal with that kind of criticism?
The criticism was very low. I got mostly positive reviews, but the ones who criticized it was like out of the world. Like, when you make a work, any piece of, and somebody critiques it or somebody says anything about it, you know exactly whether that person has really watched it or read it or understood anything about it. So I always keep all kinds of my work, like my films or my book, it's always open to interpretation. So a lot of people have come up with their own interpretations of what they felt like after watching the film. But some people who criticized it, saying that what are these things like flashing pictures, and what was your point? What was the point in making the film? What's the story? Why are there no? The first film had no characters in it, like no human characters in it. So a lot of people were like, why is there not a hero? There are no heroes. There are no heroines in this film. What is this? So the way I dealt with this was I just didn't pay any attention. That's it. Because
Right, because you cannot just cater to everyone's taste of cinema at the same
yeah,
time with just one movie, right?
yeah. See, there's we all know that there are two kinds of criticism, right? Constructive criticism and that destructive criticism. Constructive criticism is always appreciated. When some people told me that you could have done this in a certain different way, I took it and I learned it. I used it in my next film. But some people who were just asking questions which don't make sense, and it happens in every field of art. People will ask you questions, and you will immediately know that that person did not really understand it or did not really like it. And there are spiteful people as well who will just say something out of spite just to let you down. So my suggestion would be to just ignore, take the constructive criticism as much as you can, and you try to implement them, try to make changes if you want. But when it comes to just comments which let you down, you just have to ignore. That's it.
Okay, Aditya,
Right, because
coming to
constructive
okay, sure. Ishika,
um,
go ahead.
because constructive criticism, I believe, is very important to an artist.
Yeah.
It helps you grow and understand where exactly the people expect more from you, right?
Yeah, constructive criticism is extremely, extremely important. It is vital. In fact, I always ask my friends that if you don't like it, just tell me if you don't like it. But friends sometimes they're not going to tell you. Even if they don't like something, they're not going to say that I did not like this. So some strangers, when they give me any kind of constructive criticism, I always take it. And yeah, this is extremely important. One thing that when somebody criticizes in a constructive way, you should always take that into account. Don't You should never put that aside. You should take that into account. And that when there is constructive criticism, this means that there is room for improvement, which means you can get even better. And so this is important, really important.
Okay, Aditya, just speaking from a content point of view, earlier, a few minutes back, we were talking about that dystopian theme, right?
Yeah.
So, as far as I've read your, oh, by the way, Aditya, being a budding writer, he has released a book a few days back. I think it was around a month back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Last month.
today's 13th March. I guess your book was released on 13th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
14th, I guess. 13th,
yeah.
14th, I
So
guess.
around, to the viewers here, Aditya has released a book by the name of Arachnid. Uh, Now the point is, uh, everywhere in the that what to say. Could you just explain that dystopian theme? I think so. You will be able to explain it better.
The dystopian
Aditya?
theme of my book. The
No,
dystopian theme of Prateek.
you mentioned that every content or every piece of film out there is speaking on the dystopian theme at the point where
Hmm.
dystopia has happened. But I guess in your
Yeah.
book you try to explain
Oh,
that
yeah.
descent into dystopia,
Yeah,
right?
in almost all the books which I have read, it's like you when you read a dystopian book, it's about the dystopian world. Like everything is out of order and everything is bad and wrong. But in my world, in my book, in that world which I have created, in this world, it's that time period between the normal world and the dystopian world. So there is that kind of a confusion going on between the people, among the people, that what are we actually doing? Where are we actually heading? So it's not exactly really that dystopia which we usually imagine ourselves or we imagine in fiction. This is not the dystopia, but that's the descent into that dystopia. Like the government is changing, they're putting up some kind of authoritarian rule, and the people are losing their minds. And the protagonist is thinking that, am I the one who's losing my mind, or is it the people who are losing their minds? Which one of us are losing their minds? This is
Uh,
that.
Aditya, in the book, the City 18, which you talked about,
City 8.
have you?
City 8.
Sorry, City 8. I guess. Sorry, I'm miss. Have you based it off a real location, or what were your impressions for that?
Uh, no, I did not really base it on any real city, but I just imagined a world where things would, get out of hand. There's one film, Enemy by Denis Villeneuve, and in that film there were a lot of scenes in which they showed the urban world, and it was covered with, the orangish dust, and there was dust everywhere. You could hardly see what's going on. So when I was watching that film, I thought that could this be would this be possible in the real world? I know that there's a lot of pollution, but is there so much pollution anywhere in the world which would make everything turn orange? And I saw the same kind of setting in his film Blade Runner 2049, where there was this orangish hue in the entire environment. So one day I had gone out somewhere and I was coming back home, and right outside my neighborhood on the road I saw this, like a truck. I think a lot of trucks had passed by, and they had released this smoke in the air. Like everything was dark, you could hardly see. I could not even see anything. I was shocked for a moment that what's going on. Like, is this fog or is this smoke? What is it? So I took that image, and it just stayed in my mind. And that's how I used that theme in that book, that pollution is so much that people have to wear gas masks all the time. Everybody has to wear gas masks all the time in that city, in City 8.
Okay. So Aditya, as far as we understand, you have proceeded a lot in your career, book writing and filmmaking as well. So what are your future plans regarding this?
Uh, I don't actually. I'm not quite sure where I'm gonna go with this, because right now I'm doing my bachelor's in English. In English, so I don't know really. I might go for film. I might go for literature for my master's. And as far as my profession is concerned, I'm not really. I'm not quite sure. But I'm gonna keep making films. That's for sure. I'm gonna keep making films in the future as well. And
Okay.
writing and filmmaking is really, like, it's like the two sides of the same coin. Like if you are a director, you can be a writer. Like you
Yeah.
cannot. There, everything is based on an idea. A film is coming out from an idea. A book, work of fiction is coming out from an idea, and ideas are everywhere. So if you can imagine a film, you can also imagine a book. You can imagine a world of your own. You can write it down. The problem with writing, though, is that you need to have a lot of skills, which I learned while writing this book. I felt I did not know that there was so many things that I did not know, like even grammar, basic grammar. I was stunned to know that all these years, what I had known was not right. Whatever I had learned from school, whatever I had learned later in life, they were not right. I was following something wrong, and I learned it while writing that book. So
Okay,
pursuing,
Aditya,
yeah.
there is a question. Could you just go to your screen? That there is a question by Shopnoy. As an independent filmmaker, how do you counter the pressure constantly coming from giant corporate institutions who constantly try to confine an artist's mind with this tiny stereotypical barrier? Okay, did you read the question, Aditya?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of true, because corporate institutions, these industries which have taken over like everything, not just the film industry but the music industry as well. So they want you to make a certain kind of film. So right now I have got a few offers from a corporation. I cannot reveal the name, but they don't want me to make the film the way I want to make it. They're short films, basically. They will be for my state, but they don't want me to make the films the way I want them. They are telling me that you have to do it this way. There's no other option. You have to do it this way. We are giving you this amount of money. You will have to work using these resources. You will have to work, and this is what you are going to do. You have no other option. And I cannot say anything, although I am the director, but I cannot say anything because when an industry or when a corporate body comes into the picture, you cannot do anything. You become a puppet. So the question is, why did I really agree to work with these people? That's because since I'm just getting into this industry, I thought that I should try, working with different kinds of people. I've worked independently, and now I'm working for someone, I'm working with someone. So after having this experience, I can make better decisions in the future.
So
So,
Prateek just asked you a question. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. So, apart from all those filmmaking and book writing and your own academics, how do you like manage all the three things and also taking all the comments, the good ones and the bad ones? How do you manage everything? Because it needs your mental peace and your way of working towards those things. How do you manage everything? Can you please tell us?
Yeah, time management is a very important factor because if you get stressed, you cannot really do anything. Everything will fall apart. A lot of people have this idea that if you're under pressure, if you're under stress, then you can do something well. I've seen people saying that when the coal gets a lot of pressure, it turns into diamond. No, that doesn't work in the art industry. It doesn't work in the art business. David Lynch has said a very beautiful thing. He has said that negativity is the enemy of creativity, and that is very true. If you have negative emotions, if you are feeling negativity in your life, then you cannot really create good art. It just won't come out of you. So how I do it is that there's something which I learned from a show. It's called Seinfeld. It's although it's a sitcom, but I have learned a lot of things from this show. So there, in one of the episodes, they talked about how they kept their worlds apart. So after hearing this, I thought that, yeah, that is true. You need to keep your worlds apart. Like for my academics, whatever I'm studying at college, I'm keeping that aside. My filmmaking things, I'm keeping them aside. My writing, I'm keeping aside. My music, while I play the violin, I'm keeping that aside. So it's like I'm focusing on all these things. I'm giving them the attention that they deserve. I'm spending the time that they require, but I'm making sure that these things don't intersect, that these things don't get into the picture. This is one more thing that I found in school levels. Teachers and parents always say that you should not do this. You should concentrate on your studies. Don't do this. It's going to affect your studies. It's going to harm your studies. I don't think that's true because if the student see, my point of view is that a student knows that if I don't score good marks or if I don't score this much marks, then I'm not gonna, get into this school or get into this university. So it's not like nobody will try to destroy their future by their own hands. Nobody's gonna do that. So I don't think that if somebody is interested in something else other than their academics, it's going to hamper them. Provided that you can keep your worlds apart, which is very important. That make sure that one thing doesn't affect the other. For example, when I'm writing, if I feel like I need to watch a film while I'm writing, I cannot go on writing. I have to stop right there and I have to watch a film because I know that I cannot go on this way. Or for example, if I'm reading a book and suddenly I feel like, oh, I have to write now. Suddenly I have an idea in my mind. So I start writing. This is what I do. But I make sure that when I'm really focused on doing something, I don't allow something else to hamper my focus or disturb me. And when it comes to time management, that is something actually even I don't know how I do it. A lot of people keep asking me, how do you do so many things? I don't know. It just that's the thing. I just dedicate this kinds of time for everything, and it just works out.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, Ishika, you were asking something, so you can please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so Pratik just asked you a question about, what do you want to do, in your career, right? As in, what do you want to take forward, the like the academic part, or like you want to direct films and all. So one question that I have for you is, this is a thing in India, that is, the parents, they constantly keep thinking if you're into academics, that is a real career option, but directing films, or even
Yeah.
being an artist, or even modeling and other stuff, they are not really considered as real professions. So what
Yeah.
was the reaction that your parents or your friends had, or like what kind of support did you get from them that helped you?
Well, to be honest, I did not get a lot of support from my parents when I had begun this thing, because the mentality of the Indians mostly are like that. The science stream is better than the art stream, and the kind of stigma that is surrounded. So I had to fight against my own family so that I could take arts. But I did not have arts in 11 and 12. By the way, I had science. I could not convince them then, but later they understood that different people have different kinds of objectives and views in life. For example, I was never into studies. I don't know why a lot of people just jump to the conclusion that, oh, he's a good student. No, I'm not a good student. I was only, even in school, I was only good in the literature subjects. I was not good in, Prateek knows that. I was not good in all the subjects, but I was good in the literature subjects. And why was I? Not because I was a good student, because I just liked reading those things. The thing with parents and people in general is they have this idea that academics, having an academic career, like you have said, anything, engineering, or being a doctor, or being a teacher, a professor, these are the things which are the only options. Other than that, you cannot do anything. But the thing is, people are becoming, right, you will find people giving examples of, you see him, see, he's not doing anything now, he pursued this stream, now he's not doing anything. But then if you show somebody else, and if you say that, but you can see him, he has become somebody, they're going to say that, oh, he's an exception. So this is the problem which exists in society, actually, that you cannot really change it just by doing something abruptly. So my point of view, what I believe is that the education system, if it changed a little bit, it has changed with the new education policy. I really like that policy which has come up. This is going to help a lot of students in the coming future. But this mentality of people, it will take some time to change. And once it happens, then I think a lot of people will not have to, go through all this trouble of making everybody else happy with their decisions. My thing is that it's my life. Ultimately, I'm gonna be living with my own life. Nobody else is gonna decide what I'm gonna do. So that's what it is. You just have to follow your dreams. That's it. Everybody else is just an obstacle on the way. You just have to push them away and move forward.
Aditya, your personal journey has quite been interesting, and for the guests here, actually, Aditya, me, and Shivojit are from the same school, and I remember myself that in the parent-teachers meetings, Aditya's mom used to complain to my dad that Aditya gets so less marks in maths and such, and these things used to happen. But the thing is that whatever you like, that is we need to follow. Uh,
Yeah, it
getting
it takes some time. For
Yeah.
example, my mom, she's a teacher, and she was not always happy because I was very poor in maths. She's a maths teacher, and her son is poor in maths, so it's a bit problematic. But when she it took her some time, but in
Yeah.
the end, I'm lucky that my parents, in the end, they realized after my class 12, they realized that no, this is not what he wants to do. He wants to do his own thing, so let him do what he wants. So after that, they have been supportive, and they're still supporting me now. My friends are also supportive. So that struggling phase, against my parents or against my other people in my life, that phase has passed, right? This struggle which I have right now, it's the bigger struggle, which is with society. That's the bigger struggle.
Aditya, do you at any point feel dejection, or suppose you see that what others are doing? Suppose someone from a suppose you have taken a different path, the path of being a creator, right?
Mm.
So suppose you are seeing someone suppose do BBA or BCA or join the job right after, I guess, at the end of third year. So and they are earning, and people are going to obviously judge that he is not doing anything and the other person is already earning. So have
Mm.
you ever felt any dejection, or have you faced anything similarly?
No, when I see other people, earning money or getting into jobs, I've never really felt any kind of dejection at all, because I've always focused on what I'm doing. But I feel dejection, when my work doesn't get appreciated. Like, a lot of people use the term underrated. A lot of people have used it about me as an artist, but I don't like the term, because when you say underrated, it means this person is not rated the way he should be. But I think the proper term would be underappreciated, because a lot of indie artists, like they call us independent artists, we always stay and we remain as underappreciated people, because it's the same thing. We don't have much exposure. We can go for marketing and we can go for all those things, but even then, it's difficult. I don't want to create any kind of controversy by saying this, but Rupi Kaur, she got popular. Her works got published uh, because she had a huge following on social media. Otherwise, her works would never get published, because these are not the kind of poetry which people like. But she got published because she had a huge following on social media, and this is something which is very important, which I've seen in the traditional publishing business, is that publishers always see what kind of a following that you have on social media, how many people know you, regardless of what you write. Even if you're a novice writer and you have a huge following, they're going to publish your work, because they know that people are going to buy their work. Because he has got a huge following, these people are going to buy his work. So what happened with me was this particular book which I've written now, Arachnid. I never meant to publish it, let alone self-publish. I never even meant to publish it, because I just did not want to. This book is actually an entry into a contest, a writing contest, which was organized by Amazon. And the book which I was actually supposed to publish, it was back in 2020, which did not get published because of the COVID-19 situation. And then I just called off the idea, because the first book, it got postponed. So I just did not feel right about it. So I just called off the idea. And a publishing firm from West Bengal was going to, a traditional publishing house from West Bengal was going to publish that book. But that did not happen because of the COVID-19 situation. And then I thought that maybe after I graduate, then I was going to publish some of my works. But then I learned about this contest, pen to publish contest by Amazon. And so I thought of trying my luck there. And Arachnid was actually not supposed to be a novella. It began as a short story. Then I kept writing and writing, and it turned into a novella. And that's how I, published this work. So after that book went live, that's when the struggle actually began. A lot of people think that once you finish writing the book, struggle is over. But no, that's where the real struggle begins, because that's when you have to start marketing your book, which is very difficult. You have to convince people to pick up a book written by an unknown person. Why would they care? So you have to make the people care, and this is the tough part.
So
Right.
in
So
short,
being
yeah, Ishika, go ahead, go ahead.
so okay, so you're an artist, right? So you keep writing and watching movies, but how do you I think there's this one word that I think you'll understand. It is creative blockage, right? So how do you deal with that?
I think this creative block, or in the writing business, they call it a writer's block. I think this doesn't exist, because uh, creative block or writer's block, this is just a synonym of being lazy. To be honest, it is just when laziness creeps in, that's when you face creative block, because there is no end to creativity. Ideas are everywhere. Right now I'm sitting in front of a laptop, there's this light hanging in front of me. I can write something about this, I can base a whole story about this if I want. You just have to start. If you want to write something, just go for it, just start writing. If you want to film something, you just choose an idea, and you will find that ideas will be coming to you. Ideas are everywhere, you just have to grab them. I don't think there is anything called creative blockage. As long as you have the ability to think, you can do whatever you want, you can be creative.
All right, but at times, don't you just feel, suppose you're about to paint a picture or something, at times, don't you just feel you are a bit, you can't just visualize, or you don't understand, which is actually, for example, for you to, write a book or something. So at times it becomes difficult to understand whichever, which direction to, keep writing, or which paths to focus on. That kind of confusion is what I'm referring to, as a creative
Okay.
blockage.
No, actually, the kind of writing style that I use while writing is that they call it pantsing for some reason. I don't know why they call it pantsing, but this is the thing where you don't really have an outline of your work. You don't know what's going to happen next. Stephen King uses this technique as well. He said that if the ending is spoiled, if you know the ending of your own book, it's it's just spoiled. It's not going to be good. So this is how I wrote Arachnid as well. I just began writing and I kept writing, and even the works which I had done before, short fiction, they were the same. See, if I know that, if I have an outline ready for me, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's just something that I did not choose because of this reason, that in that case, I might face a creative block because I had an idea in my mind and now I cannot, go into that. I cannot follow that idea. So that's when I feel like, oh, what shall I do now? But when even I don't know where I'm going, I have no idea where I'm going. I'm just allowing that story to take me somewhere. That's when you just allow yourself to flow, and
That
that's when
is when you write stories which are very unpredictable with unpredictable twists and endings,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's how you avoid those kinds of creative blocks. But the kind of problems which you face is when you write, is when the editing part comes into the picture. That's very difficult, editing your own work. The first draft which you write, when I was reading the first draft of my first book, which was not published, I felt like deleting that entire file because it was so bad. It was so bad. So this is what happens while in the editing process, that you cannot even imagine what you have written. Everything gets edited. Words get deleted, pages get deleted. So that's the part where you feel like giving up. But that's during the editing process. While writing, nothing should bother you. There are some people, even I have this bad habit of editing as I'm writing. Like, I'll write a sentence and I'll notice that I have made a mistake, I'll go back and I'll correct it. Sometimes I do it. But if anybody can master this thing, that they are not going to do this, they're going to keep writing until they reach the end, then they will never face any kind of creative block while they're writing.
Okay, that's interesting. A question for Ishika here and Shobhajit as well, just to get the conversation going. So, we have seen that Aditya has followed something, his passion. Do you guys have something you like or as such? Shobhajit, Ishika?
Okay, I think
Okay,
Shobhajit should,
yeah.
go next. Yeah.
Okay, so like since childhood, I have been inclined towards aviation. That's what drives me, like watching the planes flying over the skies and everything. It just drives me crazy. So uh, it literally drives me crazy. And when my mom used to buy me stuffs about like toy stuffs and all of aircrafts, I used to like, even it doesn't have a battery, it works on upon which it works on. Even I used to play with that, like it will revolve the like propeller or everything is gonna revolve and it's gonna fly. I used to think like that. But when I actually took this passion and turned this into my own career, it like it just boosted my entire confidence that yes, I can actually pursue this, that not just as a passion but also as my career. So being in this aviation field, I actually thought of why not to share my knowledge about the technical stuffs and about everything that I have known since far into a blog. So I have started my own blog, that is paradoxaviator.wordpress.com. It's still a free website, so there's a .wordpress thing in that. But yeah, this is how like I have put my efforts into blogging, and so that I can all share share my knowledge with you guys. So that's one of the things. And also I have been pursuing photography. Okay, that's not a professional thing, but that's my own passion wala thing. So I like clicking pictures around, and recently I have started my like videos. Like I actually don't know how to shoot videos, but I know how to click pictures. But based upon that, I have actually started shooting videos and everything. And but with all the little steps, I hope I can do it, and people will like my videos. And Aditya, please help me. I need your help with this. And
Sure, sure.
yeah, so that's the thing. That's one of the two things, aviation thing and photography, which I have been pursuing till date. Back to Ishika.
Okay, I think that is the best thing ever, when you turn something that you're very passionate about into a career option. I think that is the best thing ever. About me, I have been into a lot of things, okay? So, I used to read a lot of books. I have learned dancing for, like some time. Then I've been, into drama and all. And right now I'm cooking, and I've been trying out a lot of things. That is something that I want to do. I want to try out a lot of things and a lot of options. I don't want to, stick to a particular domain, because for me that is very important, to not leave anything untouched or inexperienced. That is what I want. I want to experience everything that's, present here, every kind of experience that I can possibly have.
Yeah, I think that is really important, because once you narrow down your own choices, you'll feel lost, and one day or another you will reach such a point in life, and you will wonder that what if I had not done that? How would it have felt? So I think it's really good that you have tried everything.
Right. But then
Okay.
there's another way that I differ with Shubhoji. That is, he has turned his passion into a career option. But for me, I want to keep these things very separate. I want to have a
Mm.
different career and, keep something that I'm very passionate about. I want to, keep working on those two separately. I don't want to merge them into one. I think that will, help me grow as a person a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, coming back to Aditya, uh, just a common point of view. I think so. Everyone has written that essay in English class that what do you want to become when you grow up? And I guess Aditya also had written this essay when he was a child. So, what did you used to write in the essay, and what have you means? What is the comparison of that? What to say, real versus real life?
Yeah, that essay had come so many times, and every time it was something different. Every time it was something else. Like
I guess it
sometimes,
was some at some point of the time it was Sherlock Holmes also, I guess.
yeah, yeah. It had been Sherlock Holmes. It had been a wrestler, and
Batman,
yeah,
Batman.
yeah, all kinds of things. Like whatever interested me back then, it would just go into that essay. So right now, if anybody asked me what I want to do in life, I will say that I just want to be happy. That's it. And whatever makes me happy, I want to do that. Now, if it's filmmaking, I want to keep making films. If it's writing, I'm gonna keep writing. That's it. I just want to be happy.
Okay, as from a creator or an artist's point of view, I guess our point of view or motto for the session was that being your own boss or creating for yourself. So, what is your take on that, or how, do you want to proceed with that?
Yeah, you always have to be, the boss of your own self. That doesn't mean, having this kind of superiority in yourself that
No, no,
nobody
not
can
yet.
take me. Not that, but you should know that these are my abilities, and nobody else should tell me what to do or what not to do when it comes to my creative faculties. Nobody should be a barrier to your creative faculties. Somebody, I just saw a comment that they were talking about censorship, that a lot of things get censored in India, which is a problem on its own. So this is just an example. Like, there's no end to getting blocks or getting obstacles on your path. Even when you feel like you've done everything, there's going to be a problem. Like somebody's going to come into the path of your creativity. So as much as you can, as long as you can, keep those things behind, you can keep those things back. There's nothing that can stop you from going forward, and you should always try to be the boss of yourself.
Okay, so Aditya, do you have any current plans or anything you want to share with us, or anything about your future book or a future film?
Yeah, in the near future, I'm actually having a lot of films in my hand right now. Like I've said, I'm making some films for a corporation which I cannot disclose, and then I'm also making some independent films as well. As soon as I can, I will start working on them. And as far as my writing is concerned, I always keep writing. I never stop writing. I always keep writing, be it fiction or just screenplays, anything. This is the thing. One more thing I would like to add, that a lot of writers are coming up nowadays, all over social media. My A little suggestion to everyone, who want to proceed with this thing, this writing career, would be that read more than you write. If you write one page, you read 10 pages. Reading is very important. When you read someone's work, you can tell immediately whether this is a well-read person or not. And this is something which, immediately a literary agent can look at your work and they can tell that this person knows what he's talking about or he doesn't know what he's talking about. So even if you are an experimental writer like me, you have to be well read. For example, I have been inspired by the works of Franz Kafka, Fyodor Dostoevsky. And even Stephen King, I like his writing style, the narrative technique, and Albert Camus. I've been inspired by their works. So you must have some people whom you could name that they have inspired me to get into writing. So this is a small suggestion to everyone who wants to get into this writing business or this writing passion.
Okay. Uh,
So, yeah. So, in a short thing, can you please tell us in this digital era, how do you plan on approaching the people who actually doesn't read or who loves to watch, or even people who likes to read but doesn't want to watch movies or anything? How do you plan on approaching those kind of people with your book or your future movies, anything like that?
See, the due to this digital thing which has happened now, it's very easy. Like you can just read a book on your phone, on your tablet, wherever you want. You can do that. My book is only available on Kindle right now because that was one of the rules of this competition, that it can only be available on Kindle. So people who don't, there are some people actually who prefer reading books on their phones because you can lie down or you can do whatever you want. So that's why. This is something, I don't know if it's good or bad. It's both sides of its story. For example, due to this digital thing, we have access to a lot of films. You can download films from the internet. We can use torrent for downloading films. But then what's happening to the original films? Nobody's going to the theaters anymore. They are just staying at home and watching films. Right now we are in the middle of a pandemic and we cannot go out. That's different. But usually what happens, a lot of people, they don't really watch films. It's different if you cannot watch the films, but when you can and you still don't, because you can just sit at home, you can download. So I think that's a bad thing, because the experience of watching a film in the theater, it's completely different than watching it in home, because every director wants their films to be seen on the largest screen possible. They don't want you to watch a film on a little, a mobile phone or a laptop. They don't want that. But then we don't have much of a choice, so we go with it. So I think it's both good and bad, both sides. We have to look at both sides when you consider this.
okay. Aditya, just a
Okay.
question. You mentioned that your friends and family supporting or what, but I guess you need more than support in becoming successful, I guess.
Yeah. The one thing which I want to point out is the social media, which Shubhajit just said, that how is social media coming into account in all these things. When you share somebody's post on, for example, Instagram or Facebook or anything, it gets a bit of a visibility. But when it comes to films or books or anything, like anything artistic, we should understand that it doesn't just end when you share it. Like you're sharing that, okay, this person has written a book, so you have spread the word. But your work actually doesn't end here. If you really want to support an artist, you have to buy their work. This is something that I cannot stress more upon. I have actually encountered people who have asked me that, why can you not give your book away for free? This is something I just don't understand. A lot of people are like, artwork, any kind of artwork, books or paintings or anything. If you're putting a lot of effort behind this, you want people, to buy it. Like if I had the option, I would have given it for free, but Amazon will not allow me to do that. So you have to buy the book. So I think this is where if you really want to support somebody, an artist, your contribution will be, fulfilled, or it will be 100% when you actually not just buy or own that person's work, but also you give some kind of a review, whether you liked it or not, what you felt like after reading his or her work. This is more important, especially for budding authors or budding artists like me. We need reviews. We need people to tell us how they felt after reading our book, and we just don't want, okay, I liked it or not. There are some people who, after watching my second film, just commented nice. What am I going to do with nice? Okay, this is not what I want to hear. Just tell me something, how you felt about it, what are your interpretations. So these things help a lot.
Okay, understandable. Ishika, do you have any other questions for Aditya?
No, not really. I think I'm done with my questions.
Okay, Aditya. So I guess mm, you have come a long way, and your future goals are already set. But as a creator, or as an author, or as a film artist, what would you do if at certain point of the time, or there comes a big change in the industry, because we understand that is the only thing that remains constant, and there might be a certain big revolution or some change in the future, 10 years or
Mm.
20 years from now, where everything gets disrupted, because 2020 itself was a big disruption. So how
Yeah.
do you plan to adapt to change?
See, it's always about adaptation. We are always adapting to other things. This is another very important thing in Arachnid, by the way. Sorry for plugging my book here, but it is another thing that, adapting. We humans have been adapting to changes for a long time, and it's not really, very difficult to adapt when it comes to these things. Like there has been this new movement of filmmaking called vertical filmmaking, where, using a phone camera you are making vertical films. A lot of people are against that, but I think it's fine as long as you're experimenting with different kinds of modes of filmmaking and styles. It's totally fine. So as far as change in the entire industry is concerned, I think just have to go with the flow. That's it. You cannot really, stick to one thing. You always have to keep changing. Otherwise, you cannot upgrade. You cannot change. This is one more problem. Some artists, they when they change, people don't like that. There are some artists, when they don't change, people don't like that. So what are they gonna do? There's the dilemma. People don't like it when they change. They don't like it when they don't change. That's one thing why Coldplay, that band, that English rock band, they get a lot of hate. Some people say that they have never changed their style of music. They have always played and made the same kind of music over and over again. But they actually made a change in one of their albums, and nobody liked that. They were like, "Why did you change? You should not have changed." So this is what happens when you try to cater to the audience what the majority wants instead of going with the flow. This is what will cause your downfall. I'm just giving it as an example. I'm taking Coldplay as an example because they were the biggest rock band in the world, and now they're nowhere to be found. They could have become as big as the Beatles, I might even say, if they had continued their run in the top the way they had after their first album Parachutes. But they just had a huge downfall, and that was the reason they started listening to the majority instead of following their own artistic goals. So this is very important. Whatever the industry does, whether it changes or not, you should know that this is what I want to do and I have to do it.
Okay. So Aditya, I hope you are clear on your goals and you have created a roadmap for yourself, that you might be following your career as well as education, or following your academic goals, but you will be a creator or an author always, right?
Yeah, sure.
I guess.
As long as
Okay.
it's possible. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Shobhajit?
Yeah, that's it from my side.
Okay. Aditya, it was, I guess, nice to have you with us. Uh,
Thank you for having me.
we
It
hope
was
best of
really
luck for your.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
It was
and best of
a
luck for your
very
future.
interactive session. I got to learn so much from you about this specific style of writing and that you follow, and the way you deal with creative blockage, and this suggestion that you had to keep writing and not think about editing. I think that is something I'm gonna keep in mind always when I'm trying to do something. I'm into some kind of creative stuff. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Interesting, surely. Thank you for being with us, Aditya, and I guess we're done for today. Thank you for joining the session with us at Applex.in. We will be bringing more guest speakers with us, and we also hope to see Aditya with us in the future, Ishika and Shubhajit as well. Thanks for joining with us. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.